Welcome to From Here to There, a podcast presented by Formidable Grooming Products, where we have discussions with leading professionals in the barbering and hairdressing industry on the art, craft, and business of hair, discovering what it takes to become a formidable force in the industry. My name's Paddy, and I'm joined by Sam. And today we welcome our latest guest, Julian Maloney, owner of Maloney's Barbershop in Auckland. Welcome to the podcast, Julian.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me join you for this. This is awesome.
Oh mate, it's our pleasure. We're really looking forward to it. So I thought maybe to start off, Julian, you can just give us a nice brief background in your story in the barbering industry, and just take us to where you started and where you are now.
I've been in the industry just over 35 years. I've owned my own shop this is 21 years. And I started in ladies hairdressing in the 80s. Barbering had fallen to the wayside, and most Kiwi men went to a unisex salon because they had medium to long hair. And the traditional Kiwi barber was unable to adapt at that time. And it was cool. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it. Did a traditional apprenticeship. And after my fifth year in the industry, like a lot of Kiwis, I went overseas and didn't really gel. Went to the UK, didn't gel with the hairdressing industry there at the time, and did hospo, but got a job working part-time in a very traditional barbershop, and just loved it. It was great. My boss learnt barbering in prison. He had hand tattoos, little moustache, gold chains. He was going to elocution lessons to get rid of his Brummie accent, and he was a character. And the shop was full of characters. He worked with his wife, and from there I worked for some Sicilian barbers in the UK. Again, second generation, traditional, just loved it. I had to wear a shirt and tie, and came to the end. I had a year off. I taught English as a second language as well. So that gave me a bit of a break from the industry. And then when I was about 24, came back to New Zealand with my English girlfriend, who's my wife now, Susanna, who is very much a part of Maloney's as well. She's been in the business full-time 10 years, and searched out a traditional barbershop in Auckland. There was a couple, one that I ended up working in, Ponsonby Barbers, started there in 94 and worked there for 8 years, again, full of characters. Ponsonby, which is gentrified now, was at the start of, it was just starting to get gentrified. So there was, heaps of characters. It was a $10 barber shop. We did 40 haircuts a day, and just smashed it out. It was pretty brutal. And then got the opportunity in my early 30s in 2003 to start my own shop, not by choice. Family support, everyone said I had to do it. And I'm by nature quite lazy, so did it slowly but surely. And my wife joined 10 years ago, and we took it seriously, and have grown to the shop that it is now.
Awesome overview. Cool to hear your story about, that experience you had overseas, and sort of, I guess, would you say the industry was a little bit further forward than it was back home? And so when you came back home, you kind of brought some of those ideas with you, or?
Definitely. I look at, there's a story I always repeat, which is when the Beatles arrived in New Zealand in 1967. Yes. That was the end of barbering as we saw it. And they arrived with long hair, which was, covering their ears. And that was the demise. But the English barbers or British barbers in the bigger cities, they saw the change and they adapted and became men's hairdressers. And some of those guys came to New Zealand as well and immigrated here in the 60s and the 70s, and so brought some of those broader skills. And so in the UK in 1994, the barbers that I worked for could do cutthroat shaves, long hair. They were doing design work on Afro-Caribbean hair, all ethnicities, Indian, Muslim, Jewish, white English. They had all the skills. So coming back to New Zealand, I wasn't interested in hairdressing, but I was a bit snobbish as a hairdresser. I thought I was above a barber. I could do colour, I could do long hair, I could do a flat top, I could, I didn't shave. That's the only thing I didn't do. I learnt that in the UK. And so I was happy just to cut hair. I really enjoyed cutting hair. And the barbershop, I just enjoyed probably the quickness of it, 10, 20 minutes, and the banter and, my colleagues and chat. Someone said to me I didn't realise until I was in my 20s, and a client said, "What do you do, mate? You wake up in the morning and eat birdseed." And, just that's it.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure Sam's the same.
For sure. And that energy that the shop brings, especially like you were saying too, Julian, with at your time at Ponsonby Barbers, like you were saying, high numbers, cheaper price, but just in and out, and sort of that tempo, it brings a different type of energy into the shop, maybe very different to the hairdressing sort of service.
Absolutely, and obviously it was very male. We did have different. We had different people coming into the shop, different genders, but it reached a peak of probably like too much macho male bullshit going on, and it's sort of toned down a little bit now, which is good. But I mean, anything could be said in the shop, and probably the more outrageous. I'm not saying the better, but it was a good chance to, as a younger man, to talk to older guys that were really eloquent and great storytellers, and lots of verbal sparring. I'd be, say 30, and I'm, talking to a judge or an ex criminal, and those guys, they don't tolerate fools, and if you stumble, they're onto you. But that's just a small part of what I enjoy.
It's amazing seeing the people come through Sam's store, like, not as a barber myself, but seeing like all cross sections of the community come through, and it's and the connections you build is incredible. Like, we live in Wanganui, and it's not a very big city, but Sam, like, you walk down the street with Sam, it's literally like he's like the local celebrity, because like everyone knows you, and it's a really wholesome connection too. It's not it's not a kind of like surface level. That's like he's their shrink, or like it's like like a real respect thing. Yeah, I think the elevation of the barber, the barber and the client relationship, that's been elevated, and it's respect both ways, which is great. So we definitely provide a great service, but then, when you see them and obviously they open up to you and chat, as you would know, Julian, some of my great friends are just through the shop here, and I've met them through the shop, or you make some great connections, and you definitely sort of have a great relationship because of it.
I like that word, respect. It is, I think it's a part of. It's not a bad word, is it? It's how we get on in life, and how you treat other people and how they treat you, and of course you get the opportunity to look after someone, and which they may not have someone look after them at all, and that goes a long way. It took me a long time to realise that what we did, us, in our industry. People really, it makes their day, and they will go out of their way to look after you. And growing up and having the opportunity to have lived in smaller communities and smaller neighbourhoods, neighbourhoods where you have your butcher, your baker. I used to chat to the bank manager and the postie. That's really that got lost, particularly in Auckland and the big city with the super malls, and that has come back into its own definitely in the last few years. And I look at the loads of community neighbourhoods now that have a chemist shop. They have young people working in the bakers, young people in the butcher shop. Maybe an upmarket grocery store, and they want to know your name, and they want to. They know that their success is looking after the community, which we are part of. I mean, up until the mid 2000s, I would when my wife was still in education and event management, I would go to her events and talk to strangers. Would be in 30 people at an event, like us barbers. It's hey, what do you do? Where do you live? Blah blah blah. And I would say I'm a barber, and it was a conversation killer. People couldn't understand. They had no comprehension of what that is. They sort of felt that that's it. I don't want to compare it with another industry because I respect everyone who works with their hands, but it wasn't that high.
Yes,
maybe a bit of a but that's changed. It's completely changed now. People didn't understand that you could be a barista or a waiter professionally and travel around the world, and even to an extent a chef, and make a living and do really, really well, which you can now.
Totally. Some of those industries are really elevated, and like you're right, like a barista, it's like essential for some people. I need my barista. It's
great.
I totally understand that.
But it's the craft too.
The craft.
Like it's been seen as a job for a young teenager to get for that little portion of time. Where you were saying, Julian, like a barista, even a barber, I think, and different shops in the past have sort of had, guys walk off the street and grab a clipper, and we've all had that bad experience. And I think people think that that's what the industry is about, but it doesn't matter what industry you look at. If it doesn't matter if it's a lawyer that isn't up to scratch, but you've only had experience of a quality one and all these different things. It's the cross section of any industry, but I think there is a lot more. There's a lot more going on with. Like we said before, the respect of these trades, because they are even coffee making and all these things, like to do it well and to have effortless service, but not to be too overbearing and all these little things. Like the amount of time that you've spent with clients, Julian, I can imagine. Like you can read people, you can feel their energy, and you adjust your service to that.
Absolutely, and in taking. Talking to the guys in my shop and giving them direction on where they go, you will attract like attracts like. You will attract your own clientele. The barber that is the most absolutely best cutter might not have the biggest clientele. They will attract people that want precision haircuts, and that's great. But there is a lot to say having a very broad outlook and treating everyone the same. I've had some clients that maybe the relationship at the start wasn't that great, and now it's like, wow, you have I changed or has the client changed? But they're a great person, and there's good banter, and sometimes people really want to come in and get a haircut. The same person, same haircut, and then they want to leave pretty quickly, and it's a transaction. And I love those guys as well because they're so consistent and verging on probably neurodiverse or a little bit OCD, and I'm part of their routine. Cool,
yes,
great.
Yeah, that's cool. That prompts me to one question I had is, what would you say to someone looking to join or who's maybe early on in their barbering industry and wanting to join up with a shop that really sort of elevates them like Maloney's? What what can they do, and what sort of things are you looking for in someone to join your team? What are the most important things for you?
With myself and Susanna, my wife, we've honed it down with the team at Maloney's. I've got a staff member called Barber Sue, and I say Susanna, my wife, and Barber Sue because they're both Sues. They used to be daytime Sue and nighttime Sue, but that wasn't quite.
Didn't go down well.
Didn't go. Yeah. And then my wife Susanna. Short side story. She actually did go and train to do shaving. So she did cutthroat shaves just so that she could understand what it was like to, have a book and work on the floor and provide that surface. She went that extra step and gained lots of respect for doing that. But Barber Sue has been with me for over 18 years. And if you look at Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan, and you've got these, these gnarly guys that have traveled through Africa and Europe, Sue is my sergeant major. She's so hard. She's tough. She doesn't take any bullshit. And she's looking for, she will look at character and honesty and timekeeping as, for some people it is natural. For others it can be a struggle. We're not looking at technical ability to start with. That even with someone with 3 or 4 years experience, you're still on that growing journey. And most shops will have a capacity for training, but it is that client interaction. That's where it's going, and that is the long-term success. And someone that can work within a team. A shop that is a little bit more established like ours, it is a little bit of a harder journey because everyone is very, very tight. But that makes the reward greater when you we've recently had someone who's been with us for 3 or 4 months and they're in. Cool. The guys will look after them. They will go out and socialise and do stuff outside of work. That's going to make their journey a lot easier.
And that's earned too, Julian. That's earned from those individuals coming in. It's not given.
Yep. I don't want to be. I've learnt this word, the gatekeeper. I don't want to be that guy that is going to create and maybe give these rules or these ideas that this is what you need to do. You have to do 8,000 hours to do this, and you've got to do 100 push-ups, and you've got to run. I don't want to be that guy, but you really you have to go into any business. And if I came into your shop, I would stand in the background and I would observe what you guys are doing and what your expectations are. I would soak it all in. I would I would keep my eyes down and, chin up or something and just listen and learn. And then later on, you can add your own flavor into it. Not that saying that you can turn up into a shop and say, hey, look, this is the way I do stuff. Doesn't quite, I'm going to, provide this service this way. That will probably not be to your advantage. So just get in there, but definitely don't turn up to a job interview with a can of V. Put some socks on, and be there really early. My timekeeping's terrible. I'm terrible. Look, I joined you guys even a little bit late, which is not the sign of not what I would want for myself or my expectations. So those are really key things. So, a young guy just started on Wednesday last week and had a couple of days trial, and I don't think I looked at his haircuts. we worked together, worked in the same vicinity. I just listened to what he was saying to the clients at the start, how he finished off the haircut, and that just made it all. It was really great to see. He had come from a shop that had good standards of customer service.
And I think
I'm not sure how you guys go as well. How it works.
Very similar. Very similar, Julian, in terms of those key things. Respecting time management. Time management's everything, and sort of just that willingness to learn. As you said, any good shop and any barber that has a bit of experience that is willing to teach anyone, they just want a willingness of the apprentice or the person that is learning the craft. They just want them to be open, and that's all that I want them to be. And I want them to have some good concentration with what's going on, and try and retain some of that information and use it and learn from it. And then whenever that portion of the haircut or that portion of the service, or when you're dealing with even the small stuff of greeting a client, those things, or those lessons in the past have helped you into sort of making it a part of your routine and sort of bettering your service overall. But no, I couldn't agree more. Those are very similar traits that we look for at Monaghan's, and we feel the exact same way for sure.
On those young people, Julian, I was going to say, or people who are joining the industry or new to the industry, slightly different tangent, but in your opinion, what are some of the barbering fundamentals that young barbers should spend maybe more time on mastering, maybe would be the right word?
You mean technically?
Technically, yeah, shifting maybe to the technical point for a while. And it'd be interesting maybe for people listening who are at that stage in their journey, what have you observed over the years that maybe they should be, has the focus been too heavily on one thing over another? And what would you say to that in terms of the fundamentals?
Going through the starting the year, we've been back at work 5 weeks, and we've had maybe 3 weeks back into our training regime, which is a couple of hours a week. It's myself and Antonio, another senior. We're looking after a junior that's coming through, and there still is a love of, I think, I don't want to be ageist if it's young or a junior barber coming through into the industry, that it's not all about the fades and the really, really short work. That is precision. That's so cool. I mean, I love it, and I'm still working that out and working new techniques. But a bit more scissor overcomb, clipper overcomb, and what we call manipulating the hair, wetting the hair down, working out what longer hair does and medium length hair, and bit of blow wave work. They go really well with, I think, when a client comes in, a new client I've never seen, I'll always wet their hair down, might even re-dry it. I want to see what it's doing. So just that understanding what hair is about before you start cutting it off. And that tends to, having that little bit more experience and knowledge and practice, you can do that with a mannequin work, and then it's just not all about straight to the zero fades. There's a lot of technical. I think that's sort of going to 5 stages. Stage 5 is definitely the short work, and our guys with us love mastering the buzz cut. Just one clipper, one number all over, just the finesse of that, because it's so simple, but it's so easy to get wrong. And you miss a couple of hairs, you don't taper it off. The client knows, everyone else knows that it's not the best, but it should be the easiest.
For sure.
So,
and Julian, like you were saying there, it comes with experience, I suppose, with the amount of time you've been doing it. It's not necessarily even the cutting, like the short fades, and even when you're cutting with scissors, etc. But the understanding of hair tendencies and flow, and all these different things. That might be a hairdressing understanding, but I feel like I've never done hairdressing, but I do really think that that's coming into barbering a lot more. That comes with experience and spending time with seeing all these different heads of hair, but it's definitely understanding that flow, crowns, just the way that hair sits, isn't it? You know, like just an understanding of that.
Yep. And those are I think if as I remember, and still occasionally you come across a client experience where if it's going to be tricky, it's going to be the crown and it's going to be the fringe. And if you can understand or work on those a little bit earlier, then the rest of it will become easier. So it's almost like you work on some of the harder stuff, and then you can go backwards. It makes maybe the simpler or easier stuff even easier.
And from a customer perspective, totally makes sense. And from a customer perspective, I love it when I sit in a chair and someone starts playing with my hair and talks to me about my hair. Like, I like that because, like, for one, it shows me that you're a professional and you know what you're talking about, rather than just hacking straight in. Rather, you know what I mean?
How much do you want off?
Yeah. How much do you want off? I don't even know, like even after all these years, I don't know how much I get off. You know what I mean? But like, I love that when they talk about my hair and point out things that maybe someone else in the past has pointed out, and I'm like, no, that's right. I like that part, and it only needs to be a minute or so, you know, like a little play and
that consultation and analysing it, and also opening up with the client, talking with them about it.
Yeah.
So it's not a statement where it's questions. It's how do you wear it? Do you wear product? What is your routine? And
do you think, though, a lot of the time that they're doing that already in their head, they're maybe just not verbalizing it? Like, you know what I mean? Like that verbalizing is actually really cool, because it's like, it's an experience going to the barber, and to be, you want to be informed, you want to learn things as well. So
they give themselves the answers, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Julian, you know, once you dig a little bit deeper and ask the right questions, they come up with the answers themselves, and then you can work around that.
And going back to maybe, Paddy, you were saying about a person that may have just come out of barber school and they're going to join a team into a shop, and you know, what else could they work on, or it is that consultation, and that just comes with experience. You know, a 19-year-old talking to a 40-year-old
totally
is in any situation that can be a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Again,
it's just listening to what the other barbers are talking about, and those. And as a team leader or as a shop owner, you should have a repertoire of phrases that you teach your staff what to say. And again, you don't want to be a parrot, but the tried and true phrases. And if you can't find out what the client wants, luckily we've got phones and pictures and images, and you can hone it down. And then if that doesn't quite work, you find out what the client doesn't want. So should we shave it off? No. Do we leave it long? No. Do you want to wear it that way? No. Okay, and then you can just sort of work
narrow it down,
process of elimination.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think like 99% of the time I've been disappointed with the haircut. It's not been because of the execution. It's been because they didn't understand, or maybe didn't ask the right questions to get an understanding of what I wanted. Would you say that most of the time, when people are disappointed, it's because the expectation, even if they didn't verbalize, if it was in their heads, you did not meet that expectation?
Yes, yeah. And you can, as a barber, you do have to play it down. And I've spent my life not having high expectations or aiming very high. It means your success rate is very good. So just don't aim for the sky. Aim about 60%.
It's true. Because you get pretty despondent after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I like people. I really love it when clients, a brand new client, don't know what the hair's like, and new to the shop, and they don't know that I'm the owner, and they go away and they go, "What's your name? I'm going to come back." But part of that is on the trickier side, we all have tricky experiences, and
Yes.
not everyone gets on straight away, but if someone has got tricky hair and they let you know, or they don't know, you've got to let them know. Oh yeah, that left hand side, that looks like it sticks out all the time. Oh yeah, it does. Oh yes, okay. That limits us what we're going to do. Okay, the back. Okay, so you're growing it, but you want it cut. Look, if we cut it, it's going to defeat the purpose of growing it. Have you tried doing these things? And that negates disappointment, So yeah, you definitely want to meet at that same level, have that expectation. And when it does go wrong, very rarely breakdown in communication from both parties. And there's nothing wrong with asking too many questions.
True.
Just you've got to find out what's going to happen in your mind, what you're going to do before you even touch those clippers, and take them through that journey. I'd use exactly the same technique which I used when I was about 17. Lovely guy, Austrian hairdresser called Gustel Pitura from Remuera, and he told me, do this, and I still do it, and I teach it the same way. And a bit like if you're using some tester pots on a wall and you're painting, you're not going to get these three colours or one colour and just paint the whole wall. You're going to get a small section. You're going to try it out, maybe try a couple of different colours. I do that on the right-hand side. I establish the whole haircut there. This is what we're going to do. And then, boom, finish it off.
That's cool. Very cool. I had another question, and Sam might have some more, but I'm interested in a city with probably over 100 barbershops. How do you, as the owner and also as the business Maloney's, how do you differentiate your shop from others, and what can other owners do to build a brand that stands out?
Name your shop with after like an Irish name or something like that, starting with M.
That's safe. Safe.
Tends to help.
Put some Chesterfields in it and get everyone to wear like really, man. You guys, I'm just going to push back a little bit. When I was about in 1920 and I was finishing my apprenticeship, my boss at the time, she knew that I was not going to be a hairdresser, and I was in Christchurch, so I did 2 years in Auckland. Got into heaps of trouble and had to leave, and went to Christchurch and finished my apprenticeship down there. And my boss said, "Hey, look, well, when you're qualified, why don't we open just a shop near Canterbury University?" And she didn't say barbershop, but she said, "You just cut hair, and it would be unisex." And straight away, I pictured a corner shop, big windows, black and white tiles, traditional barber's chairs. And when you guys opened, it was like, oh man, they've actually done it. That's bugger. So yeah, that would, you guys, that was amazing. We don't have that in Auckland. No one's got that. So if someone opened a copy of your shop, and that's the aesthetics, that's the look. I was fortunate that in 2003, when I opened my shop, I opened only a kilometre away from my own shop. I had this is before digital, it's before the internet, so I did have to advertise in local magazines and print. I'm not saying I made the mistake. I did base a lot of it on myself, calling it, Maloney's. One of my business friends said, be very careful putting your name on that business. It works two ways, but you'll never be able to get out of it. That's the negative. The positive is that there is a person that owns that business and it's got that, when people come in, they know that there is a lot of love and there's a lot of consideration and care, and it's not a chain store. It's not it's that's part of it.
Yeah.
I found my own, so I was just a little bit ahead of the game, just in timing. So 2003, there was probably only 5 or 6 barbers within the CBD, and it's sort of not a big area, but it's huge population, and wasn't the cheapest. Also wasn't the most expensive, and what I call a commercial barbershop. I didn't. I had a broad range of clients. Being in the city, we didn't maybe have as many kids, which is not a bad thing, and we did look after more business people, which are they're regular and consistent. 2007, again before the digital world, we won Metro magazine, which was a real Auckland iconic magazine. They started bringing out best baker and best hairdresser and best restaurant, and that still exists today. They had best barber, and I won that. And
awesome.
That I really ran with it. I entered a few business competitions, and it just showed that we were trying to do well. We weren't sitting on our laurels. That was the first thing. And then after that, Maloney's, myself, I think that's the direction that we went. We were always trying to see which way the industry was going, whether it was with haircuts, whether it was it could be competitions. I'm really good at copying other things, and sometimes making decisions that affected other businesses or other barbershops. It was like, well, we're going to do this. We're going to do it first. And if you guys want to do it, you're going to have to follow us.
Lead the pack.
Yeah. So I can't really put my finger on what some of those things were. Definitely during COVID, we made some decisions through industry, which we'd already established a great relationship, where it was like, I don't know what we're going to do, but we have to do something. Let's do this. And I'd have a Teams meeting with other barbers in Auckland and around the country. And it's like, yep, industry, let's go. We'll do it this way. So It's having that confidence to make a call and to stay, if you're swimming, you want to be that guy that's right at the front, or else you're going to be in someone else's wake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's been a lot harder because there's so many amazing shops, and I probably can't put my finger on any that are the same as, if I was to mention half a dozen shops in Auckland. We're all different in our own way, and it's reflection of the team, the location, and maybe the aesthetics of the shop as well. But I know that they're successful because they look after clients and us as well.
Is that's a big thing though, I think, even in the industry of barbering and hairdressing, but also widespread as well, no matter what you do. I find the successful ones and the busy stores or the great reviews, just word of mouth and things like that, it all comes from doing one thing really well. Like
knowing your strength.
Yeah, for sure. And I see it a lot, and I've heard it a lot from other people saying, well, this initial thing you've done is very successful. Why don't you look at doing that? Or I can imagine, Julian, you've had it before as well. Julian, you should open one in this part of Auckland, or do this and that. And I just think sometimes I understand that aspect of business, and when you start scaling, but also you have to protect why you're successful and why you're busy and why people keep coming back to you.
You don't want to lose your essence, I guess, eh? What got you there?
Agreed.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of reflection. Sometimes you as a barber, you essentially look after one person at a time, and your team do that. But you've got to do that and be a business owner. But once you've been doing that, you're busy. Clients, shop's busy. You can step away and look back and distill through your client feedback and through your team, what are those key things? And we've done that. We've every decision we make now in the shop is based on what a Maloney's client expects when they come into the shop. And that's not top down, so it's not what I think you should do. It used to be.
Yeah. Yes.
I used to be, a bit of a prick and a very quick, dominant boss, because I had to make these decisions. I was successful, but I hadn't analysed why that was, and there's a few barbers that have come along that have worked with me, and now they go, man, you're just so much more chilled out. You're a lot more relaxed and not so driven on standards, and which I have not dropped at all. But there's definitely a different way of the team coming up with a lot of those standards. And again, just always, what would you do if you were a client and you walked in? What's, the music, the vibes, the meet and greet, the products. We make it all around those things. And then you analyze what you're doing really well and keep on doing it, and do it even better. And that will keep you ahead of the game. I'm not driven by Google reviews at all. I'm the one who's got some 1 stars. You should check some out. They're awesome. And it's normally not because I've cut their hair. It's just I've just been an asshole, But most of them that I love, I think in every one there will be something about banter and vibe. And so again, that's not the haircut. Yes, or, some haircut value, great banter, great vibes, and that's not like a whole lot of young men going crazy. It's just making the client feel, even if you're not cutting their hair, that you know them and you can go and say hi, and while the barber's cutting their hair, and they go, man, I've been coming to your shop for 5 years. You never cut my hair. You've never cut it, but you always say g'day. It's like, that's one of those things. And that's sort of noted, and that's written down, and it's like, hey, just it's part of that, what we call, as you say, Paddy, the essence. It's part of we call it the special sauce. It's a formula. It's the recipe.
Yep. And it takes a very mature and self-aware person to step back and look at those things, though. A lot of people go through business and all facets of business and just do what they do and think that they're just going to keep doing that without ever stepping back and look reflectively and actually look at how you got successful. It looks like you guys have done that, and actually continue to make decisions going forward based on your DNA as who you are as Maloney's, It's not always easy to do because you get lots of noise and you get lots of things bouncing around. I'm sure Sam can talk to that. Different people think differently of who you are, your brand. You might have an idea in your head and the guy next to you might have a completely different idea, but trying to marry all those things up and come up with, I think going forward is the hard part, because you can always look back at previous success and say, hey, we did great, but tomorrow's a new day, and you might not be successful tomorrow.
The goalposts shift constantly, and I think that's the thing. You see these businesses and people, no matter what industry, they're stuck in their ways, and they feel a certain way. They, like Julian, you said, the self-reflection. You do have to self-reflect, and you have to sit there and sort of have a think on areas that you need to improve, but be real. What are you providing? And the true feedback you might not like. And that's okay. Yeah.
I went through that process probably, again, 10 years. I sort of use it as a benchmark. My wife, Susanna, joined the team. A very, very good friend who is a professional business coach. We were able to take him on at mates rates or even less. And he loved what we did. And he added lots of those elements. But the feedback that he initially gave me, it was the worst feeling that I've had as a business owner. And I still remember it now, even though you got to let those things go. But it was a real shivers shit. I've been making some really bad decisions, or I've had some systems and processes which, have to change. And, that feeling in your guts, it's like, oh, crikey.
Yeah.
That's all part of the challenge of life and business and sports and relationships. But, the sooner that you go through that process and accept it and move on, it makes you a lot more open to change, and everyone goes through that process a little bit differently. Not that you have to change all the time. The world, part of the success of us in our industry is that we are consistent. There's no AI. There's cutting here.
Yes.
Our equipment's the same. It's really nice. True.
There's disruption in other ways, right? But some of those key things have never really changed, and that's actually quite cool to reflect on, because not a lot of industries are like that. Mine certainly changes constantly.
Oh my gosh. I'm a part of it here in this podcast with all this technology. I love it.
You've witnessed it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, just adding to what you're saying, is sometimes the best feedback can come from the most unlikely source, and you just got to be open to it all. And it could be the junior, the person who's just stepped in the door, that might have the most fantastic idea, that they just get it. Because, that outside looking in is very important, because you can get stuck in your own, you can get high on your own supply a little bit.
Yep.
Sometimes, and it's quite cool to have that brutally honest, but maybe really, really true feedback come through from someone or some avenue you didn't expect.
Yep. Yeah, really, really, really good. And then you can feed off that, and that person is going to give you, that person is going to witness their idea come to fruition, and in a business that is so powerful, because that person is now part of that business. They've influenced it. The more people you can get involved directly with your business and what you do, the more, as a business owner, you can step back and concentrate on your clients. And as I was saying before, I'm a lot more relaxed, because the guys in the team they've got their shit together, and they're great. The team's awesome, and they do their thing.
Yeah, and an aspect as well too, when you're using that benchmark 10 years ago with your wife Susanna coming on, Julian, like, in terms of that self-reflection, in terms of having a look at the overview of what you're providing, who's overlooking certain areas of the business, has also, in that reflection, looking at maybe some of the areas that anybody is weaker in, or they need to, or they're just not fit for that, job.
Yep.
Has that happened with the introduction of your wife coming in 10 years ago, and her taking the reins on certain things, and maybe possibly other, store managers, or, like you say, Barber Sue also? Have you delegated so much of those things that you needed to?
Oh, yes. And we figured out with working with a business coach that once you go to a team of 10, you've got to have the same processes as a team of 30. There's no difference whatsoever. So you do have to have someone that's involved in retail, stock, someone that's involved in HR, someone that's involved in payroll, someone that's involved with social media and advertising. Now, you can one person can wear 3 of those hats. So it's identifying what those roles are and then delegating them out. Within the shop, we are a mixture of contractor and employee. So the contractors have any responsibility they take on, they get paid for. And if you're a PAYE, you're barbering, and then you get time to work on those skills as well, on those roles as well. I think we came up with, I'm guessing, if my wife Susanna was right here, she may remember 220 different roles within a barbershop. We might have got it down to 120, and that could be, whose role is it to turn the alarm off at night? That's someone's responsibility. That is an identified role, and then it just, if you do that through your business, you'll there's so much going on. There's a lot going on. You just can't do it. With my wife coming on, we expanded. We went from 4 chairs to 9. We went from 1 floor to 3 floors. I had the building that we're in, I leased the ground floor, which is almost like a basement. The tenants moved out, and we were looking at opening another store. And we thought, well, look, let's just grow where we are. We're road frontage. People know where we are. Don't change it. So we grew bigger. And with that, we had a lot more to deal with. And but prior to that, I did everything. I did the till, I did the banking, and I remember folding the towels at 11 o'clock at night, thinking this, and the shop was really successful, but we weren't making that much profit. I was really looking after it, again, probably the way the business was going wasn't, from the outside, looked really successful, but actually in the reality of it, the hard, cold reality of it, it needed to change. And there must be so many small to medium businesses out there that don't have that support. It is that one person, and with a team, or even by themselves, or just one other person, and going through that's so tough. That is really, really hard. You need to have the people you work with take on some of delegate and take on some of those roles to help you grow. They'll love it. Reward them for it. And that's what makes a strong team.
Everyone wants to be part of it, eh? Everyone wants to be needed in some regard. And so when you give responsibility to people, even if it's the smallest thing, that can really, really elevate their performance. It can give them more motivation to turn up in the morning. And but it's a hard thing to do too, because, if you've held it for such a long time and you are used to doing it a certain way, and naturally sometimes business owners can be a little bit more on the controlling side, because that's how they got to where they got, by controlling it all and managing their journey. Then that can be one of the harder things to do in business, right?
Letting go. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, it's you have to make decisions sometimes quite quickly, and now someone else is going to you want someone else to make those decisions quickly. And that's, you've got to let them do it. And you've got to, if you're going to take in, say you've got a medium-sized shop, you're going to take someone on that leadership journey, you've got to give them the tools. You're going to have to spend a lot of time. It's going to be really hard work to take them on that journey and give them that information. I grew up with a very tough dad, and we were a sailing family. And since I was 4, I remember being on boats, and I never learnt to sail on purpose, because my dad would make a decision and he would tell me what to do. And once he's told me once, I had to have mastered that technique, and then if I didn't, oh my gosh, it was Captain Bligh. It was hell. And so I pushed back and said, I'm not going to do anything. Now, if he had more patience and had really just quietly gone through, which he did later on, oh my gosh, teach me to drive and advice on business and took his time, I would have taken on those skills, and I would have quickly risen to be in that position that he was, and be able to work the boat really, really, really easily and well. So you can't just expect them to swim, or else they're going to sink. They've got to learn.
So you give them the responsibility, but you also arm them with the training and the tools so that they don't fail, and then it can backfire. It can be worse than where you started, can't it? If you have to then do the cleanup job. And
well, it's a bad cycle if if you're getting angry or you're frustrated at somebody not making the right decision at the right time,
realizing you maybe haven't helped them.
You haven't equipped them.
Yes.
Yep. And that can come with a bit of, it can be, you're going to repeat that same process with 10 people, and you still have to give that information with enthusiasm as well.
Mate, fantastic information. I think we're close to the end. So we like to do this, or we're starting to do this with our guests. It's just kind of like a rapid fire finish. So the rules are simple. We just tell you, you tell us the first word, thing, technique, product, idea, or anything that comes to mind for each of the following prompts. No need to think about it too hard or anything, my man, but just give the answer that comes to the top of your head. You keen for that?
Great.
All right, I'll read them out. First one of the harder techniques to master.
Skin fade.
Skin fade. What's your favorite classic style or cut?
Pompadour.
Nice. Favorite modern?
Quiff.
Yeah, quiff, pompadour. What's your favorite modern cut style?
A burst fade with a mullet.
Those mullets are friggin' everywhere. Dealing with coarse, thick hair.
Add a little bit of moisturizer or conditioner before you start cutting.
I like that. Your desert island tool, if you could pick one.
For barbering?
Yes.
Well clippers.
Love it.
Same.
Dealing with a very particular customer. Let's call them particular. We've talked about this a bit, but...
Kill them with kindness.
Love it. Favorite tool for physical recovery, your own physical recovery after a hard day's work? Don't tell me wine.
Beer.
I love it. Your biggest inspiration or someone you are inspired by in the industry? Worldwide, doesn't have to be here. Who do you look up to?
He's Matt Brown. He's not a barber, really. He's not barbering anymore, but definitely Matt Brown. He's gone to another level. Level.
Has. We hope to talk to him someday. He's,
amazing.
Awesome fella. Mate, Julian, if there's anything else you'd like to add, feel free to speak to that now, but we really appreciate your time, my man. And I think there's been some awesome stuff coming out of this for not only for, anyone at any stage, right? I think there's been something for everyone in there, but...
Thank you so much, Sam and Patty, for giving me the opportunity to talk about myself. I love it. But guys, keep on doing what you're doing. And again, you've got a couple of shops, and you've got your product range, and you've got this great podcast, and anything that can, we're in a collegiate industry where, your business and my business, there's no reason why we can't chat and, share knowledge around the country. And we need that. And everyone's hungry and thirsty for sharing some of those ideas as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again, Julian. Yeah, I totally agree. This is the whole point of what we're doing. We're wanting to give value to people coming into the industry, people from the outside just looking in, and really get across some key points and have people get inspired and energized about what we're all doing, and working together is the fastest way of getting there for sure.
Absolutely.